Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the creepiest stories to keep you up all night. Today, we're starting a wild new tale called The Ghost in the Gearshift. Picture this: a beat-up old car, a greasy garage, and a ghost that won't let go. This one's got chills, mystery, and that what the heck just happened vibe. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing. Got a spooky story from working late or messing with old junk? Drop it in the comments. I wanna hear it. Alright, buckle up, 'cause this ride's about to get freaky. My name's Caleb Dixon, but everybody calls me Kale. I'm 28, a gearhead who's been wrenching at Rusty Wrench Garage in the sticks outside Memphis, Tennessee, for years. I fix cars, flip 'em, make a bucket's my thing. Money's tight, though, with rent, bills, and my old pickup always breaking down. So when I heard about a police auction selling off abandoned vehicles, I jumped at it. Figured I'd snag something cheap, fix it up, and sell it for a nice profit. That's how I ended up with a 1985 Dodge Charger. A rusty beast that looked like it had been through hell, but man, I could see the potential. Big V8, classic lines. If I could get it running, it'd be worth a fortune. The auction was at a sketchy lot downtown, all chain-link fences and flickering streetlights. The Charger was parked in the back, covered in grime, tires, flat, hood dented like someone took a sledgehammer to it. The guy running the show, a cop with a clipboard, said it came from an old parking garage, abandoned since 2010. Probably some joyriders' junk, he shrugged. I got it for $800, a steal, even if it needed work. I towed it to Rusty Wrench that night, October 2025, and parked it in the shop, a cramped, greasy place smelling of oil and metal, with fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry bees. My boss, Hank, a grizzled guy pushing 60, took one look at the Charger and frowned. That thing's got a bad vibe, Kale, he said, wiping his hands on a rag. Heard stories about cars from that garage, haunted or some crap. I laughed, thinking he was messing with me. Hank's old school, always yapping about curses and ghosts, but I'm not into that. I just wanted to get the car running and cash out. Still, something about the Charger bugged me, maybe the way the windows seemed too dark, like they swallowed the light. That first night, I stayed late to check it out. The garage was quiet, just me, my toolbox, and the Charger sitting under a flickering light. I popped the hood, expecting a mess, and yeah, the engine was trash. Trusted spark plugs, cracked hoses, battery long dead. No way this thing could run without serious work. I slid into the driver's seat to check the interior, and that's when I noticed it. A dark red stain on the seat, crusty, like old ketchup or something worse. I grabbed a rag and some cleaner, scrubbing hard, but the stain wouldn't budge, like it was part of the leather. Weird, I muttered, my skin prickling. I kept working, checking the dash, the pedals, but the air in the garage felt heavy, like someone was watching. I glanced at the rearview mirror, and for a split second, I swore I saw something, a shadow. Maybe a face, gone when I blinked. My heart skipped, my wrench clattering to the floor. Get it together, Kale, I said, shaking it off. Long hours, bad lighting, that's all. I turned on the radio, some classic rock to drown out the quiet, and got back to it, poking around the glove box. Found nothing but a crumpled gas receipt from 2010, faded but showing a Memphis address. Around 2 a.m., I was beat, ready to head home, when I heard Etelo, shaky sound, like someone crying, coming from the Charger's driver's seat. I froze, my flashlight shaking in my hand, and listened. It was faint, almost like wind whistling through a crack, but it felt human. I checked the windows, all closed, and the garage doors locked tight. "Hank, you here?" I called, my voice echoing, but no answer. The crying stopped, and I told myself it was pipes or the old building creaking. I grabbed my jacket, ready to bounce, but as I turned off the shop lights, the Charger's engine roared to life, a deep, guttural growl that shook the floor. I spun around, my heart pounding, the flashlight beam wild. The Charger's headlights flared, blinding me, even though the battery was dead and I hadn't touched the keys. "What the hell?" I yelled, stumbling back, my toolbox crashing to the ground. The engine revved, loud and angry, then cut off, the headlights fading, leaving me in the dark with just the buzzing fluorescence. I ran to the car, my hands sweaty, and checked the ignition no key, no wires crossed, nothing. The hood was still open, the engine as dead as before, but my hands were shaking, my breath short. I backed away. My eyes locked on the Charger and noticed something new. The red stain on the seat looked wet now, like it was fresh, glinting under my flashlight. I grabbed my phone, no signal in the garage's dead zone, and snapped a pic of the stain, thinking I'd show Hank. The crying started again, louder, coming from the driver's seat, and I swear I saw the rearview mirror twitch, like it was turning to face me. I bolted for the door, my boots slipping on the greasy floor, and didn't stop till I was in my pickup, peeling out of the lot. The Charger's roar still echoing in my head. That night at Rusty Wrench Garage shook me bad. The Dodge Charger's engine roaring to life with no key, no battery, and that red stain on the driver's seat turning wet, glinting like it was fresh. It wasn't just some garage prank. I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic who's seen busted engines and shady deals, but nothing like this. I barely slept, my head replaying the crying sound from the driver's seat, the shadow in the rearview mirror, and the way the Charger's headlights glared like angry eyes. By morning, I was back at the garage, my coffee cold, my hands still shaky, telling myself it was just exhaustion. But deep down, I knew something was wrong with that car. I got to the shop early, the Memphis sun barely up, the air smelling of oil and dust. Rusty Wrench was quiet, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the clank of tools from the back. The Charger sat where I'd left it, hood still open, looking innocent under the buzzing lights. I checked my phone, pulling up the pic I'd snapped of the red stain. It looked dry again, crusty, like it had never changed. I frowned, my stomach twisting, and glanced at the car. The rearview mirror was tilted, pointing right at the workbench where I stood, even though I hadn't touched it. "No way," I muttered, my skin prickling. I grabbed my toolbox, determined to figure this out. The engine was my first stop, had to confirm it was as dead as it looked. I leaned under the hood, my flashlight beam cutting through the grime. And yeah, it was a mess. Corroded wires, a cracked manifold, spark plugs that hadn't fired in years. No chance this thing ran last night, not without a miracle. I tightened. A loose bolt, my hand steadying, and told myself it was a fluke, maybe a short circuit. But the crying sound, the stain that wasn't wiring. Tina, my co-worker, rolled in around 8 a.m. Her boots scuffing the floor, a Red Bull in hand. She's a gearhead like me, tough as nails, with a sleeve of tattoos and a Nobius attitude. "You look like crap, Cale," she said, tossing her bag on the workbench. I spilled everything, The auction, the charger, the crying, the engine roaring. She laughed, leaning against a tire rack. You're telling me your junker's haunted? Dude, you need sleep, not ghost stories. I showed her the pic of the stain, but she shrugged. Old cars got history. Probably just spilled paint. Check the fuses. Bet you got a glitch. Her vibe helped grounded me, but I wasn't buying the glitch excuse. I kept working, swapping out a busted hose, my eyes darting to the chargers, windows, half expecting that shadow again. Around noon, Hank, the boss, poked his head in, his grey beard stained with coffee. That charger giving you trouble? He asked, his voice gruff. I nodded, keeping it vague. No way I was telling him about ghosts. He just grunted. Told you, it's got a bad vibe. Don't let it mess with you. He shuffled off, leaving me with a sinking feeling he knew more than he let on. That night I stayed late, again, the garage darker, the Memphis air heavy with humidity. I wanted to prove Tina right, find a loose wire, anything to explain last night. I checked the fuses. My flashlight beamed steady, but they were fine. No shorts, no sparks. The battery was still dead, cables disconnected, yet the memory of that roar made my hands sweat. I slid into the driver's seat, my heart thumping, and checked the ignition. Nothing, just a dusty slot. But the red stain on the seat looked darker, almost wet again, and a faint smell hit me, like copper or rust. I grabbed a rag, scrubbing the stain, my jaw tight. The cleaner foamed, but the red stayed, like it was laughing at me. Then I heard Italo, shaky cry, same as last night, coming from the seat, right where I sat. My breath caught, my flashlight shaking, and I leaned closer, listening. It was human, no question, like someone sobbing, trapped. Who's there? I whispered, my voice barely audible, but the crying stopped, the air dead quiet. I glanced at the rearview mirror, and my heart stopped. A figure, shadowy, with white eyes, staring from the back seat. Gone. When I spun around, I jumped out, my boots slipping on the greasy floor, and checked the back seat empty, just cracked leather and dust. Screw this, I said, my voice shaking, and grabbed my phone. Snapping pics of the mirror, the seat, anything to prove I wasn't losing it. The garage felt smaller, the lights flickering now, casting shadows that moved when I didn't. I checked my tools, lined up on the workbench, and froze. My wrench was on the floor, 10 feet from where I'd left it, like someone tossed it. I hadn't heard it fall. I backed toward the door, my eyes locked on the charger, and noticed something new. The car wasn't where I'd parked it. It was maybe 5 feet forward, closer to the workbench, its tires leaving faint tracks in the dust. My stomach dropped, my hands clammy, and I checked the key still in my pocket. No one else in the shop. The lights flickered again, harder, plunging the garage into dark for a second, and the crying started up, louder, angrier, mixed with a low growl, like an engine revving deep in the car's guts. I ran to the breaker box, flipping switches, my heart pounding, and the lights buzzed back on, dimmer now. The charger sat still, but the red stain glistened, wet and spreading, like it was bleeding. I grabbed my jacket, ready to bail, but my phone buzzed, no signal, just a photo I hadn't taken. The charger's interior, the stain bright red, and a shadowy figure in the driver's seat, its white eyes locked on the camera. I dropped the phone, my breath hitching, and the crying turned into a scream, sharp and desperate, echoing in the garage. I bolted for my pickup, my hands shaking so bad I could barely unlock the door. But as I peeled out, I swore I saw the Charger's headlights flicker in the rearview mirror, like it was watching me go. That scream from the Charger sharp, desperate, like someone was trapped inside, followed me all the way home. I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic at Rusty Wrench Garage in the Memphis suburbs, and I've fixed plenty of beat-up cars, but none like this 1985 Dodge Charger. It wasn't just the engine roaring with no battery or the red stain that wouldn't scrub off. It was the crying, the shadow with white eyes in the rearview mirror, and now that photo on my phone, showing a figure in the driver's seat, staring with those creepy eyes. I barely slept, my pickup parked crooked in my driveway, my hands still shaking. Whatever was in that car wasn't a glitch, and I was starting to think Hank's bad vibe warning wasn't just old man talk. I dragged myself to the garage the next morning, my eyes burning, coffee doing nothing to calm my nerves. The Memphis air was thick, the sun barely cutting through the haze, and Rusty Wrench looked grimmer than usual, its flickering lights buzzing like a warning. The Charger sat in the corner, who'd closed now, looking too quiet, like it was waiting. I checked my phone, pulling up the photo from last night. The stain was bright red, wet, and the figure's eyes seemed to glow, even on the screen. I deleted it, my stomach twisting, and told myself to focus. I needed answers, not more freakouts. Tina was already there, wrenching on a pickup, her music blaring. I didn't tell her about the scream or the photo after yesterday. I knew she'd just laugh. Instead, I grabbed my toolbox and got to work, avoiding the Charger's driver's seat. I decided to check the trunk, figuring maybe something got left behind, like a clue to why this car was so messed up. The lock was rusty, but I pried it open, the hinges creaking like a horror movie. Inside was junkled rags, a flat spare tire, and a small leather wallet, cracked and faded, tucked in the corner. I opened it, my hands sweaty, and found a driver's license. Marcus Reed, 35, Memphis address, expired 2010. There was a photo. 2. Marcus with a woman and a kid, smiling, and a gas receipt. Same as the one in the glove box. My heart thumped, my fingers cold. 2010, that's when the cop said the car was abandoned. I pulled out my phone, praying for a signal, and Googled Marcus Reed, Memphis 2010. The results hit like a punch. A news article, local man killed in robbery, case unsolved. Marcus Reed, 35, was attacked in his car on his way home from a night shift, left for dead in a parking garage. The car, a Dodge Charger, was never recovered till now. My mouth went dry, my eyes darting to the red stain on the driver's seat. Was that his blood? I stuffed the wallet in my pocket, my hands shaking, and went back to the article. No suspects, no arrests, just a grainy photo of Marcus, same as the one in the wallet. The parking garage was an old complex downtown, abandoned after the crime. That's where my Charger came from, and suddenly Hank's warning about haunted cars didn't sound so crazy. I wanted to tell Tina, but she was on a call, so I kept it to myself, my head spinning. If Marcus died in that car, was he still here? Was that his crying, his shadow? That night, I stayed late again, the garage darker, the air heavier. I couldn't leave the Charger alone, not after finding Marcus's wallet. I checked the cameras we'd set up for security, my flashlight beam shaky, and pulled up the feed. On my phone, the Charger sat still, but around 1 a.m., something moved, a shadow, tall and thin, standing behind the car, its eyes white, glowing like headlights. My breath caught, my heart pounding, and I ran to the shop floor. Flashlight raised, but no one was there, just the charger, its windows too dark, like they were hiding something. I grabbed a rag, my jaw tight, and tried scrubbing the red stain. Again, using every cleaner we had. The stain didn't budge, but it spread, creeping across the seat, wet and shiny, like it was alive. The coppery smell hit me again, stronger, and the crying started, low and shaky, from the driver's seat. "Marcus," I whispered, my voice cracking, but the crying turned into a word, faint and raspy. "Turv lay." My stomach dropped, my flashlight shaking, and I backed away, my boots slipping on the greasy floor. Turv lay what? The car, his life. I checked the cameras again, my hands sweaty and froze. The feed showed the charger, but now the driver's door was open, and the shadow was inside, sitting where Marcus died, its white eyes locked on the camera. I ran to the car, my heart in my throat, but the door was closed, locked, no one inside. The crying grew louder, angrier, and the radio flicked on, blasting a staticky old song from 2010, even though the wires were cut. I yanked the radio knob, my hands trembling, but it wouldn't stop, the song looping, the crying mixing with it. I backed toward the workbench. My eyes locked on the charger and noticed something new. A handprint, red and wet, on the driver's side window, like someone had pressed against it from inside, trying to get out. My breath hitched, my flashlight beam wild, and I grabbed my phone, snapping pics, my hands shaking so bad I could barely aim. The lights flickered, plunging the garage into dark, and the crying turned into a low growl, deep and guttural, coming from the car's engine. I stumbled back, my toolbox crashing to the floor, and the handprint glowed, brighter, like it was burning through the glass. That glowing red handprint on the charger's window, like someone was trapped inside, burned into my brain. I stood frozen in Rusty Wrench Garage, my flashlight shaking, the low growl from the car's engine vibrating in my chest. I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic who's dealt with busted engines and late-night shifts, but nothing like this. The Dodge Charger I'd bought to flip wasn't just a junker, it was haunted by Marcus Reed, a guy who got robbed and killed in it back in 2010. His wallet, the red stain on the seat, the crying, and now this shadow with white eyes on the cameras. It was all him, and he wasn't letting go. The word he whispered, Turvley, echoed in my head. But Turvley, what? I was starting to think this car was more than a paycheck, it was a curse. The garage was dark, the fluorescent lights flickering like they were on their last legs, the air thick with that coppery smell from the stain. My toolbox was scattered. Across the floor, wrenches and sockets everywhere, like something had thrown them. I grabbed my phone, my hands sweaty, and checked the camera feed again. The Charger's driver door was closed now. No shadow, no glowing eyes. But the handprint was still there, wet and red, glinting under my flashlight. I backed away, my boots scuffing the greasy floor, and tried to think. Marcus died in this car, left in some abandoned parking garage. Was he stuck here, trying to tell me something? I didn't sleep that night, my apartment feeling too small, every creak making me jump. The next morning, I was back at the garage, my eyes bloodshot, my coffee untouched. Tina was there, blasting her music, but I didn't tell her about the handprint. She'd already laughed off my ghost talk. Hank, the boss, caught me staring at the Charger, his grey beard twitching. "You still messing with that thing?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded, keeping Marcus's wallet in my pocket, not ready to spill. Sell it or scrap it, Cale, he said. It's bad news. He walked off, but his words stuck, like he knew more than he was saying. I couldn't sell it, not yet. Marcus's story, the robbery, the unsolved case, was eating at me. I pulled out my phone, searching for more on the parking garage where the charger was found. A Reddit thread popped up, some urban explorers saying the place was cursed, with stories of crying sounds and shadows. I shook my head, telling myself it was just internet noise, but my hands were cold, like the garage's chill was in. My bones. I decided to check the car again, maybe find another clue. I popped the hood, my flashlight steady, and started poking around. But the engine was still a wreck. No way it should have roared like it did. That night, I stayed late, the garage quieter, the Memphis air heavy. I avoided the driver's seat, my heart thumping every time I glanced at the red stain, now spread across half the leather, wet and shiny. I checked the trunk again, digging through the junk, and found a crumpled note tucked under the spare tire in the same wallet's leather. It was handwritten, faded. Find them. Justice. My stomach twisted, my hands shaking. Was this Marcus's? Did he mean the robbers? I stuffed the note in my pocket, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror, half expecting those white eyes. Around 2 a.m. I was checking the cameras, my phone screen dim when the feed glitched. The charger appeared, but Marcus was there, sitting in the driver's seat, his eyes white, his face pale, pointing at me through the screen. My breath caught, my heart pounding, and I ran to the shop floor. Flashlight raised, but the car was empty, the door locked. The crying started again, loud and desperate, mixed with that raspy whisper, "Not yours." I froze, my flashlight beam wild, and the car shook like something was slamming inside. The handprint on the window glowed brighter, and the engine roared, the headlights flaring, pinning me against the wall. I stumbled back, my shoulder hitting a shelf, tools crashing to the floor. "Marcus, stop," I yelled, my voice cracking, but the car kept revving, the growl deeper, angrier. The headlights flickered, and I swear I saw him, Marcus, standing in front of the car, his eyes white, his face twisted, pointing at me like I'd stolen something. I blinked, and he was gone, but the car lurched forward, maybe a foot, scraping the concrete, even though the keys were in my pocket. My legs shook, my hands clammy, and I ran to the breaker box, flipping switches to kill the lights, hoping it stop whatever this was. The garage went dark, the roar fading, but the crying didn't stop, echoing in the silence. I turned my flashlight on, my heart in my throat, and checked the car. The handprint was bigger now, covering the whole window. Like Marcus was pressing harder, desperate to get out. I grabbed my phone, no signal, and called Tina, my voice shaky. "You gotta come to the shop," I said when she picked up, groggy. "Something's wrong with the charger." She groaned, thinking I was nuts, but said she'd be there in 20. I sank against the workbench, my eyes locked on the car, and noticed something new. The driver's door was cracked open, just an inch, like someone had slipped out. I crept closer, my flashlight shaking, and peered inside. The red stain was dripping, now pooling on the floor, the coppery smell choking me. The rearview mirror tilted, pointing right at me, and I heard it a low, clear whisper from the seat. "Find them." My blood ran cold, my hands trembling, and I slammed the door, backing away. The cameras flickered, showing Marcus again, standing by the car, his white eyes glowing, his finger pointing at the door, like he wanted me to follow. The lights buzzed back on, dim and shaky, and I saw it a new handprint. Red and wet, on the car's hood, like Marcus had climbed out, and was coming for me. That red handprint on the Charger's hood, wet and glowing like it was fresh, sent a chill down my spine that wouldn't quit. I stood in rusty wrench garage, my flashlight shaking, the air thick with that coppery smell, the low growl from the car fading into silence. I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic who's fixed more cars than I can count. But this 1985 Dodge Charger was different. It wasn't just a project, it was Marcus Reed's grave, the guy who got robbed and killed in it back in 2010. His wallet, the crying, the white-eyed shadow, and now these handprints, they were all him, screaming for something. His whisper, "Find them," stuck in my head, and I was starting to think he wasn't just haunting the car, he was haunting me. I barely made it through the night. Crashing at my apartment, my hands still cold, like the Charger's chill had followed me home. Tina showed up after my call, groggy but there, and took one look at the handprint on the hood. "Cale, this ain't normal," she said, her voice low. "No jokes this time." She snapped pics, her phone flashing, and told me to call the cops, get the car towed, anything. But I couldn't. Marcus's note, "Find them." Justice was burning a hole in my pocket. He wasn't just a ghost. He was a guy who got done wrong, and I felt like I owed him something, even if it scared the hell out of me. The next morning, I dug deeper. I called a buddy who knew a retired cop, some guy named Lou who worked the Memphis beat in 2010. Lou met me at a diner, his face all wrinkles and coffee stains, and I showed him Marcus's wallet, the news article on my phone. "Yeah, I remember Reed," he said, his voice gravelly. "Good guy, night shift at a factory. Got hit by a crew, small-time robbers, never caught. Left a wife and kid." My stomach twisted, thinking of the photo in the wallet. Lou leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. Car was never found, but the garage where it happened. Folks said it was bad news, like it held on to things. He shrugged, like it was just a story, but I felt it the truth. Heavy as a wrench, I drove to the parking garage that afternoon. A crumbling concrete maze downtown, all boarded windows and rusted gates. The Memphis sun was low, casting long shadows, and the air smelled of mold and decay. I slipped through a gap in the fence, my flashlight on, my heart thumping. The place was a tomb, littered with broken glass and graffiti, but I found it a corner on the 3rd level, marked by faded police tape, with dark stains on the concrete, like blood that never washed away. Scratched into the wall was a name, Marcus. My breath caught, my hands sweaty, and I snapped a pic, the flash catching something a shadow, maybe flickering at the edge. That night, I was back at the garage, the Charger sitting under flickering lights. Its red stain now, dripping onto the floor, the handprint on the hood still wet. I told Tina everything, the cop, the garage, Marcus's story. She crossed her arms, her tattoos glinting. "Cale, this is nuts. Get rid of it before it gets worse." But I couldn't. Marcus deserved better than being stuck in this car, forgotten. I sat by the Charger, my flashlight off, and spoke, my voice shaky. "Marcus, I'm trying, man. I'll find who did this, or I'll help you move on. Just stop scaring me." The crying started, softer, like he heard me, but the car shook, a low rumble from the engine. Like it was answering. Around 2 a.m., it got worse. The fluorescent lights popped, one by one, glass raining down, plunging the garage into dark. My flashlight flickered, my heart pounding, and tools flew off the workbench, clattering like someone was throwing them. I ducked, my shoulder hitting. The charger and the driver's door swung open, the red stain glowing, the coppery smell choking me. "Marcus," I yelled, my voice cracking, but the crying turned into a scream, loud and raw, echoing in the shop. The rearview mirror tilted, showing a face, Marcus pale, eyes white, mouth open like he was trapped in pain. I stumbled back, my boots slipping, and grabbed my phone. No signal, but the camera feed was live, showing the charger from above. Marcus was in the driver's seat, his white eyes locked on me, his hands pressing against the window, leaving new handprints, red and wet. The car lurched again, scraping the concrete, and the radio blasted that 2010 song, staticky and warped, like Marcus was trying to speak through it. I ran to the breaker box, my hands trembling, and flipped the switches, but the lights stayed off. The garage a black void except for the charger's headlights, flaring like angry eyes. I crept back, my flashlight barely working, and spoke again, my voice hoarse. "Marcus, I'll help you, I swear. Just tell me what you need." The scream stopped, the car stilled, and the crying faded to a whisper. "Hi nor." My blood ran cold, my hands clammy. Destroy the car. Was that his way out? The headlights dimmed, like Marcus was waiting, and I noticed something new. The rear view mirror, reflecting my face, but my eyes, they were white, glowing, like his. I blinked, my heart in my throat, and my reflection was normal, but my hands were freezing. Like Marcus was inside me, the garage lights buzzed back on, dim and shaky, and Tina burst in, her eyes wide. "Cale, what the hell's going on?" I heard screaming. I pointed at the charger, the handprints, the stain, but she just stared, like she couldn't see it all. "You're losing it, man," she said, but her voice shook like she felt something too. I sank against the workbench, my head spinning, and looked at the car. The driver's door was closed now, but the handprints were everywhere windows. Hood, sides like Marcus, was marking his territory, or begging to be free. Those white eyes in the charger's rearview mirror, my eyes, glowing like Marcus's, haunted me, like he was slipping inside my skin. I stood in rusty wrench garage, my hands frozen, the red handprints on the car's windows and hood glinting. Under the dim lights, I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic who thought flipping a 1985 Dodge Charger would be easy money. But this car was Marcus Reed's tomb, the guy who got robbed and killed in it back in 2010. His crying, his shadow, the way the car moved on it, was all him, begging for justice or freedom. His whisper, "Cancel it," rang in my ears, and after everything, the stain, the screams, the handprint, sigh, knew what I had to do. The car had to go, and maybe that'd set Marcus free. The garage felt smaller, the air thick with that coppery smell, the fluorescent lights buzzing like they were angry. Tina was still there, her eyes wide, staring at the handprints. "Cale, this is messed up," she said, her voice shaky, no trace of her usual sarcasm. I nodded, my heart pounding, and told her my plan. Drag the charger to a scrapyard, burn it, and hope that it'd break whatever held Marcus here. She frowned, crossing her arms. "You sure that's your cash, man?" But money didn't matter anymore. Not with those eyes in the mirror, not with Marcus's pain choking the air. "It's not about the cash," I said, my voice low. "It's about him." I spent the day prepping. I called a buddy with a tow truck, Told him I needed the charger moved, no questions. He agreed, but his voice was tight, like he sensed something off. I checked the car one last time, avoiding the driver's seat, my flashlight beam shaky. The red stain had spread to the floor mats, dripping like fresh paint, and the handprints were darker, almost black, like Marcus was running out of time. I found Marcus's wallet in my pocket, the photo of him with his family staring up at me. "I'm sorry, man," I whispered, my throat tight. "I'll fix this." That night, I towed the charger to a scrapyard on the edge of Memphis, a sprawl of crushed cars and rusted metal under a cloudy sky. The air was heavy, the kind of humid that sticks to your skin, and the scrapyard was dead quiet, just the crunch of gravel under my boots. I parked the charger in an open lot, away from the other wrecks, and grabbed a can of gasoline from my pickup, my hands sweaty. I'd never done anything like this, but my mum, rest her soul, used to pray over stuff she thought was cursed old jewelry, creepy antique. So I figured I'd try something similar. I stood by the car, my voice shaky, and said, "Marcus, this is for you. Go be with your family, wherever they are. Rest, man." I poured the gas, the fumes stinging my eyes, and stepped back, my lighter in hand, its tiny flame flickering. The charger sat still, its windows dark, but the red stain glowed through the glass, like it was watching. I took a breath, my heart thumping, and tossed the lighter. The flames caught fast, licking the hood, the seats, the tires, the air filling with black smoke. The fire roared, louder than it should have, and I heard it a cry, sharp and desperate, coming from the driver's seat, like Marcus was trapped inside. My stomach twisted, my legs shaky, and I backed away, the heat stinging my face. Then I saw him, Marcus, standing in the flames, his eyes white but softer, not angry, like he was finally seeing me. His face was pale, his mouth moving, but no sound came out, just the crackle of the fire and that cry, fading now, turning to a low sob. I blinked, my eyes burning, and he was gone, the flames swallowing the charger, its frame twisting in the heat. The crying stopped, the air lighter, like a weight had lifted. I sank to my knees, my hands trembling, the fire's glow reflecting in my eyes. "You're free, man," I whispered, hoping it was true. I stayed till the fire died, the charger reduced to a charred skeleton, the red stain gone, the handprints burned away. The scrapyard was silent, the Memphis night cool now, and I drove back to the garage, my pickup rattling, my head spinning. I felt lighter, like Marcus had moved on. But the garage still had that vibe, too quiet, too heavy. Tina was gone, but Hank was there, leaning against the workbench, his grey beard glinting under the lights. "You do it?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded, too tired to talk. He clapped my shoulder, his eyes serious. "Good, but ghosts don't. Always stay gone, kid. Watch yourself." I cleaned up the shop, my hands still shaky, and checked the cameras, half expecting Marcus's shadow. The feed was clear, just the empty garage, but the air felt wrong, like something lingered. I locked up, my boots echoing, and drove home, the city lights blurring past. That night, I crashed hard, dreaming of Marcus, his face calm, smiling, standing by his family, like the photo in his wallet. He nodded, like he was saying thanks, and I felt peace, like I'd done right by him. But when I woke up, my heart skipped. A faint sound, like crying, echoed from somewhere outside my apartment, too far to be sure. I sat up, my hands cold, my breath short, and checked my phone. No texts, No weird photos, just the time, 3 a.m., the hour Marcus died. I told myself it was a neighbor, a cat, anything, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I grabbed my flashlight, my old army knife from under the pillow, and checked the windows. Nothing, just the dark Memphis streets. But the crying lingered, soft and distant, like Marcus was still out there, or something else was. That faint crying outside my apartment at 3 a.m., like Marcus Reed's ghost, was still out there, stuck with me like a bad song. I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic at Rusty Wrench Garage in the Memphis suburbs, and I thought I'd put this nightmare behind me. I'd burned that cursed 1985 Dodge Charger to ashes, watched Marcus's shadow fade in the flames, and felt like I'd set him free from the robbery that killed him back in 2010. But that sound, soft and distant, made my hands shake, my old army knife still under my pillow. I told myself it was nothing, a neighbor, a stray cat, but deep down I wasn't so sure. The charger was gone, but the chill in my bones wasn't. I dragged myself to the garage the next morning, my eyes heavy. The Memphis air thick with early heat. Rusty Wrench was the same greasy floors, buzzing fluorescent lights. The smell of oil and metal, but it felt off, like the air was watching me. Tina was there, wrenching on a sedan, her music loud, but she gave me a look, like she knew I was. Still rattled. "You good, Cale?" she asked, tossing a rag on the workbench. I nodded, keeping Marcus's story to myself. No way I was telling her about the crying she'd already half thought. I was nuts after the handprints and screams. I threw myself into work, fixing a busted alternator, my hands steadying with each bolt. The garage was busy, customers rolling in, and I tried to focus, to feel normal. Hank, the boss, clapped my shoulder at lunch, his grey beard twitching. "Heard you torched that charger," he said, his voice low. "Smart move, kid. Keep it behind you." His words were kind, but his eyes had that look, like he knew ghosts didn't just vanish. I forced a smile, my stomach twisting, and went back to work, hoping routine would drown out the unease. That night I stayed late to catch up, the garage quiet, the lights flickering like always. I was cleaning my tools, lining them up on the workbench, when I noticed a small red spot on my wrench, crusty, like the stain from the charger's seat. My heart skipped, my hands cold, and I grabbed a rag, scrubbing hard. It came off, just paint, I told myself, but my pulse wouldn't slow. I checked the cameras, my phone screen dim, and the feed was clear, no shadows, no white eyes. But the air felt heavy, the lights buzzing louder, like the garage was holding its breath. I needed to get this off my chest, so I opened Reddit on my phone, our paranormal, and typed out the whole story: the charger, Marcus, the crying, the fire. I posted it, my hands sweaty, hoping someone would get it, maybe know something about ghosts or that parking garage. The replies came fast, but they were brutal. "Nice fanfic, bro. Pics, or it didn't happen. You been watching too. Many horror flicks." I uploaded a pic of Marcus's wallet, the faded photo of him and his family, but it got downvoted, buried under skeptic comments. I sighed, shutting off my phone, feeling dumber for trying. Then a DM slid in, from a user named Memphis Truth 88. It read, "I knew Marcus, worked with him in 2009. That robbery wasn't random talk to his widow, she knows more." My stomach dropped, my hands clammy. A phone number followed, locale with a name, Sarah Reed. I stared at it, my heart thumping, and thought about calling, digging deeper, finding the robbers who killed Marcus. But the crying, the handprints, the white eyes, it was too much. I'd burned the car, done my part. I deleted the message, my fingers shaking, and told myself to let it go. To move on. The next few days were quiet, just oil changes and tire swaps, but the garage never felt right. The lights flickered more, casting shadows that moved when I turned away, and the air stayed heavy, like Marcus's pain was baked into the walls. Tina noticed it too, her jokes quieter, her eyes darting to the corners. One night I was locking up, my boots echoing, when I heard a creak like footsteps behind the workbench. I spun around, my flashlight beam wild, but no one was there, just my tools, neat and untouched. "Get a grip, Cale," I muttered, but my hands were cold, my breath short. The next evening I was finishing a brake job, the garage dark outside, when Tina grabbed my arm. "You see that?" she whispered, pointing to the far wall where the charger used to sit. A faint red mark, like a fingerprint, glowed under the lights, then faded when I blinked. My heart raced, my wrench slipping from my hand. "Paint," I said, my voice shaky, but Tina's face was pale, like she didn't buy it. We checked the cameras, my phone trembling, and the feed showed nothing, no mark, no shadow. But the lights flickered, hard, plunging the garage into dark for a second, and a low sob echoed, like Marcus's cry, coming from nowhere and everywhere. I ran to the breaker box, flipping switches, my heart in my throat, and the lights buzzed. Back on dimmer now. Tina was gone, her jacket still on the bench, like she'd bolted. I grabbed my tools, ready to lock up, when I heard her whisper, soft and clear, from the corner where the charger sat, "Thank you." My blood ran cold, my flashlight shaking, and I swept the beam across the garage, seeing nothing but shadows. The red mark on the wall was back, clearer, like a handprint, and the air turned heavy, the coppery smell creeping in, like Marcus was standing right behind me. That whisper, "Thank you," from the corner of Rusty Wrench Garage, paired with the red handprint on the wall, hit me like a wrench to the chest. I'm Cale Dixon, 28, a mechanic who thought torching that cursed 1985 Dodge Charger would end this nightmare. I'd burned it to free Marcus Reed, the guy robbed and killed in it back in 2010. And for a moment, I thought he'd moved on, his shadow fading in the flames. But the crying outside my apartment, the red marks, and now this whisper told me I wasn't done. The garage, with its buzzing lights and greasy floors, felt like it was holding on to Marcus, or maybe he was holding on to me. I stood there, flashlight shaking, my heart pounding, wondering if I'd ever be free of him. The next morning, I rolled into work, the Memphis sun hot and heavy, my eyes burning from no sleep. Rusty Wrench was busy, tires screeching, tools clanking. But the air still felt wrong, like Marcus's pain was baked into the walls. Tina was quieter now, her music low, her eyes darting to the corner where we'd seen that red mark. "You okay, Cale?" she asked, tossing a socket wrench on the bench. I nodded, my throat tight, and kept my head down, fixing a radiator, my hands steady but my mind racing. I wanted normal oil changes, paychecks, no ghosts, but every creak in the shop made me jump. My old army knife now in my pocket, just in case. I decided to do something for Marcus, something to close the book. I'd deleted that Reddit DM from Memphis Truth 88 about his widow, Sarah, but I couldn't shake the guilt. Marcus had a family, a kid, left behind after the robbery. I talked to Hank, the boss, and we agreed to donate a chunk of the garage's profits to a fund for Sarah Reed, something I found online for victims' families. It wasn't much, but it felt right, like I was honoring Marcus. Hank clapped my shoulder, his grey beard twitching. Good call, kid. Maybe that'll settle things. I hoped so, my hands less cold, my chest lighter, like I'd done what Marcus needed. Work settled into a rhythm. Brake jobs, tune-ups, no late nights. I swore off auction cars, sticking to customer rides, no more bad vibes. The garage felt almost normal, the lights flickering less, the air less heavy. Tina started joking again, blasting her music, and I even laughed, feeling like myself. For the first time in weeks, I checked Reddit one night, curious, and saw my post about Marcus buried under new threads. But a few comments stood out, people saying they'd heard crying in that old parking garage downtown, or seen shadows in cars from auctions. I shut my phone, my stomach twisting, and told myself it was just noise, not Marcus. But the garage wouldn't let me forget. One night, I was finishing a transmission job, the shop dark outside, the Memphis air cool. The lights flickered, just a buzz at first, but then they dimmed, casting long shadows. I grabbed my flashlight, my heart thumping, and heard it a low sob, like Marcus's cry, coming from a customer's Chevy parked where the Charger used to sit. My breath caught, my hands clammy, and I crept closer, the sob growing louder, mixed with a faint hum, like an engine idling. The Chevy's headlights flicked on, dim but steady, even though the keys were on the workbench. I checked the car, my flashlight beam shaky, and froze. A red smudge, small but wet, glistened on the driver's seat, like the Charger's stain. No way, I muttered, my voice cracking, and grabbed a rag, scrubbing hard. But the smudge stayed, the coppery smell creeping in. The sob turned to a whisper, soft and sad. Thank you. I spun around, my flashlight sweeping the garage, but no one was there, just shadows dancing under the flickering lights. I checked the cameras, my phone trembling, and the feed showed the Chevy. But a figure sat in the driver's seat, pale, with white eyes, gone when I blinked. I ran to the breaker box, flipping switches, my heart in my throat, but the lights stayed dim, the sob echoing. I grabbed my tools, ready to bolt, and checked the Chevy's rearview mirror, my reflection normal, pale, sweaty, scared. But as I turned away, the mirror twitched, catching my face again, and my eyes glowed white, like Marcus's, just for a second. I stumbled back, my toolbox crashing, and the headlights dimmed, the sob fading, like whatever was there had stepped back. I locked the car, my hands shaking, and stood in the garage, the air heavy, the coppery smell lingering. I didn't tell Tina or Hank, didn't want to drag them into this again. I drove home, my pickup rattling, the Memphis streets quiet. The apartment was dark, but I checked every corner, my knife out, my flashlight on, nothing, no crying, no shadows. I crashed on the couch, too wired to sleep, and thought about Marcus, his family, the donation. I'd done what I could, right? But the white eyes, the red smudge, they felt like a warning, like Marcus was thanking me but not leaving, or maybe something else was here, tied to the garage, the city, the pain. The next night, I was locking up, the garage silent, when it happened again. The lights flickered, a low creak sounded behind the workbench, and I froze, my flashlight beam wild. Marcus, I whispered, my voice shaky, but no answer. Just the creak, closer now, like footsteps on the greasy floor. I checked the cameras. Nothing, but the air turned cold, the coppery smell back, and I saw a faint red handprint on the wall, glowing, then fading when I stepped closer. My heart raced, my hands iced, and I heard it one last whisper, right behind me. "Thank you." I spun around, my flashlight dropping, and the garage went dark, a low growl echoing, like an engine revving in the shadows. And that's where it ends, folks, or does it? Did Marcus really move on, or is something still haunting Cale's garage? Drop your theories in the comments. I'm dying to know what you think. Ever worked on a creepy old car or heard weird noises in a shop? Share your stories below, 'cause I know I'm not the only one getting chills. Hit that like button if this freaked you out, and subscribe for more spooky tales to keep you up at night. Ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Stay safe, and maybe check your rearview mirror tonight. Peace.